and where you have goods entered at first point of entry, and for purposes of the ESA region, we are looking at goods entered from Dar es Salaam for those goods which clear through Tanzania or entered through Mombasa for the goods which are transiting through Kenya. For the principle that we are implementing in the region of ESC, the single customs territory requires that goods are entered once and taxes are paid from the country of importation. And basically it is a facilitation principle, I would say, to remove hindrances in trade in terms of to create seamless flow of goods, and also to remove the unnecessary costs that are incurred by the traders.
So how does it work in effect?
So with a principle that we are implementing in the ESA region, goods will come and reach Mombasa, and Kenya Revenue Authority will have submitted the manifest for such goods according to the country of importation. If, for example, we are looking at Uganda, the shipper's agent will submit the manifest to Kenya Revenue Authority, and Kenya Revenue Authority will submit that manifest now to Uganda Revenue Authority through our customs system. The importer has an opportunity now to do a pre-arrival declaration before even goods arrive at the port. So once the trader has done a pre-arrival declaration, taxes will be paid and an entry will be lodged from Uganda into the system of Customs Uganda. Then release will be done, and we have officers already who are sitting in Mombasa, and those officers will release the cargo depending on the lane selectivity, that is the risk of the goods. If goods are less risk, they will be released from Mombasa, come under monitoring. We have electronic cargo tracking system. They will be monitored all the way up to, let's say, Busia or Maraba. Now at Busia and Maraba, we have officers who are seated in what we call one-stop border post. So the Kenya KRA officer, which is Kenya Revenue Authority, will confirm that the goods have now crossed over from Kenyan territory and have entered into Uganda. Then our URA officer will also confirm receipt of such goods, and they will release them and they go straight to the owner's premises. If goods are red lane, which is high risk, they will require a physical examination. So goods will be moved out of the port and will be taken to what we call a CFS, container freight station, where verification of cargo is done. In those freight stations, we also have URI officers. So verification will be done, and the verification account will be submitted online, also to be now read by our officer who is seated, let's say, in Kampala. And if goods have been, if there's a top-up taxes to be paid, to also be done in Uganda, and release shall be done in Uganda by our officer who is seated here. And the officer in Mombasa will be able to see that these goods have been released, and they will physically exit them. Same story, they will move under the enforcement monitoring mechanism of KRA and URA up to the border. And once they reach the border, they will be confirmed that they have exited Kenya, they have entered Uganda, and goods will be released to the owners. Now, we also have a category of goods which require warehousing. If, for example, you do not want to have your goods verified from Mombasa, or you don't want to pay taxes straight away, there are people who don't have money there and then when their goods arrive, we have a provision of warehousing. So you will process an entry which is for warehousing, where goods will be released from the port. Those ones will not be required to go to the freight station. They will come straight to the border, still with exact confirmation of KRA and URI, and they'll come straight away to the bonded warehouse, where they will be now entered for warehousing under the 9 months that we provide as provided by the law.
So, Mr. Kateshumbwa, who does this benefit?
Well, this arrangement greatly benefits the business, first of all, in terms of reducing the cost of doing business. Edmund, for the information of the listeners, since we started piloting this program with one product, fuel, we have seen a significant reduction in terms of the clearance and transit time that used to take 18 days from Mombasa to 4 days, and from 3 days to about 6 to 12 hours from Western Kenya, where fuel is loaded. So that translates to a significant reduction in terms of the time it takes to bring the products into the market, and as a result of that, definitely there is a quick turnaround time. Trucks are able to do many rounds to go. Secondly, under this arrangement, we used to have multiple capturing of data in different entry transactions. In Kenya, you would be required to make 2 declarations. With this arrangement, you have to make 1 declaration. That one alone translates to big savings for our business community. I can tell you that when we started piloting with fuel, we had, in the month of February, a reduction in terms of the entry declarations from 4,867 declarations to 545. So instead of doing the multiple declarations you would do in Kenya, you have to do 1 and execute 1 bond. That translates to a lot of savings in terms of the cost of capturing those entries in Kenya, the cost in terms of the bond and the insurance you had to incur, and so with that one translates to serious reduction in cost of doing business for our business community. But also for revenue, we have quite a steady flow and quick realization of revenue on our part. So we think this arrangement greatly benefits the country. It will make our country and our region very competitive, because what the investors are looking for is reduction in cost of doing business, and will be able to attract investment.
What do you mean when you talk about quick realization of revenue?
What we mean is that if it used to take many days to transit from Mombasa to Marava border, from 18 days to 4 days, it means that if I'm an importer of fuel, I'll be able to do many quick rounds and be able to bring in tax, and also the fact that tax is paid up front before you have loaded. So it helps us to quickly mobilize the revenue, and also it helps us to manage exercise some controls, given the fact that you have to pay up front, you go and load, and so by the time you arrive at the border, we know what you are carrying, and we know that you have paid your taxes.
All right, Ms. Banage, can you give us some background to this whole exercise?
Thank you very much. The single customs territory really is coming into force at a time when, as revenue authorities, we are all looking at the regional level, at the ESC level. The presidents are looking at what can be done to facilitate trade in this region and make it more competitive. So our heads of state, it's first of all part of the long process of integration, but the idea of fast-tracking single customs territory is premised on the fact that we want to facilitate the speed at which we are trading and make our region, East African region, competitive by becoming one territory. We become one territory in the sense that the things that you've been doing as individual countries, Kenya, Uganda Revenue Authority, Rwanda Revenue Authority, you can do as one, and you can actually work faster. For instance, we have the port, you had my earlier colleagues saying, we have that port in Mombasa, and the other for what we call the Northern Corridor route. Then we have the Dar es Salaam port, which is the Central Corridor route. Now, when our presidents realize that we can improve our region, making it one territory and making trade faster, therefore making this region competitive, they decided to fast track this single customs territory. But it's all premised on the big picture thinking that this region can be one territory, the way you've heard of the southern SADC regions, the way you've heard of the European. So we are moving into that kind of direction, really, in terms of how do you become one region, how do you make it competitive, how do you facilitate trade in this region as one territory for the benefit of both the people in that country, in that region, the people who produce goods from there, because those goods produced in that one territory certainly get more, they have more benefits than those that you're bringing in from outside the region, and we'll get into that later.
Okay. When did it start operating? Give us a little bit more of the time background to it.
Okay, the summit decision was made sometime last year, and the decision was really to try and fast track the implementation. Now, since June last year, there have been a series of activities being done by the regional revenue authorities, and some of those activities included reviewing the business processes, reviewing the readiness assessment in terms of the IT infrastructure, in terms of also the deployments. So we decided to start piloting earlier this year, and we started with fuel, and we have done the pilot, and we decided to do a partial rollout by looking at the different products. What we've done since then, of course, is that we have been able to deploy staff in Mombasa, in Nairobi, in Eldoret and Kisumu to be able to facilitate this process. We intend to continue rolling out this arrangement as the year comes by, to make sure that it is a smooth rollout. Among the things we have had to do is to do sensitization of the different stakeholders, including the clearing agents on both sides, the traders, other government agencies which we work with closely at the borders. And so it's a process that is continuing, and we hope that with time, in near future, we should be able to have fully rolled out the implementation.
Yes.
I would like to just briefly on the background.
Yes.
That initially it was actually all the 5 partner states of ASC, but like my colleague has said, Burundi and Tanzania were somehow moving slowly. So the 3 heads of states for Kenya, Rwanda and Uganda fast-tracked the implementation of single custom territory. So from the month of July, that's when we started planning to implement within the tripartite arrangement. However, as you've heard the benefits now, so when Tanzania and Burundi realized that actually single custom territory is benefiting to the 3 partner states, and they were even worried that probably traders now were going to use more of Mombasa than Dar es Salaam. They also came on board. So as we talk right now, we are planning to roll out to pilot with Tanzania and Burundi.
So originally it was the 3 countries.
Yes. Originally there were 5. The other 5.
On paper, in the planning stages, the original rollout since June last year was Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, and Rwanda.
Yes.
Then Tanzania and Burundi said, wait a minute, we want to come and run along with you.
Yes, beginning with this year, January.
Beginning with January this year.
Yes.
So, and you said, what's the process? When are you going to pilot with Tanzania?
What we've done so far with Tanzania and Burundi, we have developed the business process flows. We have developed the interfaces to enable the systems talk to each other, the system of Burundi, Revenue Authority, Tanzania, and the rest of the partner states. We have also worked out on the enforcement mechanism. We have done the sensitization. We have held joint sensitization in Bujumbura and in Kigali. Dar es Salaam, it's supposed to be next week, but the joint sensitization. This is carried out actually by the heads of departments of customs. So that's what we've done so far. The pilot is we were envisaging to have it first May
the 1st of this year.
Yes.
Labor Day. Mr. Kateshumbwa, I would like you to talk to us about this post-pilot period. You've done the pilot with fuel. What happens thereafter? When does it close and when do you get into broad business?
Yeah, what we did with this arrangement, because it was a very big change in terms of the process, and so we decided to start with fuel, because we know the importers of fuel. We did sensitize all of them, and they came on board. In the month of February, when we started, we have been able to clear over 140 million liters of fuel. And as we mentioned, we have seen that with just one product, the potential savings by the people involved in the fuel business, the importers, would be to the tune of about 8 billion annually.
8 billion shillings saved annually
as a result of
changing processes.
Because we have, this process has eliminated multiple entry declarations in Kenya. Each declaration meant that you had to pay for the service, and when all those are cut out, it translates to a very, very big saving. So what we have decided to do now, starting with 1st April, we decided to roll out to add additional products: neutral spirit, cigarettes, cement, and some products for purposes of the intra-regional rollout.
So you're doing it systematically?
Yes.
When do you expect to complete it eventually, to have everything done under this new process?
Well, we can't say that we have a specific timeline, but what we think is that we are thinking that around July this year we will have fully done the rollout for all the products.
That is swift.
Yeah.
Are you ready for that kind of volume? Volume has changed.
Yes, because what we have done, like my colleagues have said, we have designed the business processes. They are not going to change. We have done the readiness assessment of our IT, and they are able to talk to each other. So our systems are integrated. You are able to look at the Kenyan system and see what is coming into Uganda. And so in terms of, and then we have deployed staff. So what we intend to do is that we look at every month, we keep increasing the products that we are rolling out, and by July we think that we should be able to fully implement.
Actually, to add on that, Edmund, 1st July is a summit directive that by 1st of July 2014, all goods which are the maritime goods and the goods which are originating from within the region should be cleared through the single customs territory process.
So by July the 1st, everything will be on that,
yes,
conveyor
the
belt.
directive.
So did you find any bottlenecks with this system, and how have you worked to iron them out? Ms. Sarah Banage, I'm sorry we have two Sarahs tonight. Ms. Sarah Banage.
Yes, of course. Like any new system, there are quite a number of what I would call teething problems, because first and foremost, like you had my colleagues said, the IT systems need to read into each other. And that testing period would kind of like it was a bit lengthy. You want this system to be thorough when it starts, because if there is anything that is compromised, then people will not have faith in it. So our IT system has taken a bit longer than I mean it had challenges trying to read into each other, but now it's been now it's kind of thorough.
They're now talking. The systems are talking.
The systems are talking to each other. But like also something, Edmund, we are dealing with at least at the tripartite now we've got 5 countries.
Another 2 countries.
Yes. Every time you're dealing with different people, different cultures, different backgrounds, speeds of doing business, you get that kind of challenge, because you see business processes had to be developed from A, what will move from B to C, that kind of thing. Now some of these authorities, I must say, are fast movers. Others are pretty laid back. It's like a culture, really. You have to break through culture boundaries.
All right. Kind of let's take a break. This is Spectrum on Radio, and we'll be back to stay tuned.
Hey, Miss Namiaro, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
Isn't Garuhanga is here? Mr. Okot.
Oh, Atiye,
I'm so happy to see all of you. Come in. You're very welcome.
just like Stella warmly welcomes you to her house at Finance Trust, we have always been your trusted financial institution. You have grown, and we've grown too. And now that we have become a commercial bank, our doors are open for you to grow even further. Come and enjoy fast, convenient, and accessible banking services. Welcome to Finance Trust Bank. Finance Trust Bank, putting women first.
This is a warning from Kabode Meditex. All the germs in this house, gather around this radio and listen well, because I will only say this once. You germs, I have seen how miserable you make the lives of our children. You take away their health and happiness. You make them too sick to play or learn. You make them get injections. I am Kabode Meditex, and I am here to tell you that when I come into this family, you will be over. I will cover their skin with a double layer of protection that will destroy you. I will break your eyes and remove your energy. I will make you pay.
You have heard it straight from Kabode Meditex. For no-nonsense protection against germs, buy Meditex for your family.
This house has been in our family for years. I remember the first time I painted with my father. I must have been about 12 years old. Yeah.
What has the poor child done?
Mother joked that I was being punished, but I didn't think of it that way. One thing stuck with me though. I remember Dad saying to me,
when it comes to paint, there's really one company you can never go wrong with. I have trust in their products. The quality is unbeatable.
The words stuck with me. And now, as I put the finishing touches on renovating the house, there really is just one option.
When you need quality paint you can trust, look no further than Sadolin. Sadolin, color your world. Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back on Spectrum tonight. What are the benefits of the single customs territory being fast-tracked by Uganda and other East African community partners? Our guests tonight, Ms. Sarah Banage, Assistant Commissioner Public and Corporate Affairs Division in the Commissioner General's Office at the Uganda Revenue Authority, Mr. Dickson Kateshumbwa, Acting Commissioner in charge of Customs at the URA, and Ms. Sarah Kasheka Mwesigye, Assistant Commissioner Field Services Customs Department at the same URA. You will be able to call in shortly and interface with them directly. Mr. Kateshumbwa, you are talking to us about this post-pilot. You are confident by end of July it will be done.
Yes.
By the beginning of July, you'll be ready to roll out on all that. So what can an average importer expect thereafter?
What we expect is that the benefits we have seen through the pilot will be extended to all the traders we have. We expect everybody to have the goods move at a much faster speed. As we mentioned, we have seen the reduction from 18 days to 4 days, right from Mombasa to Malaba. And that has come along with many other changes. I mean, we had so many way bridges, roadblocks, all those have been removed. We have seen a removal of the multiple bonds. What used to happen, Edmund, is that as soon as you had goods moving from Kenya to Uganda, you had to execute a bond to cover the goods in the Kenyan territory. As soon as you reach the border, you execute a transit bond to bring the goods into the warehouse, let's say in Kampala. And then you had to execute another bond to cover the goods in the warehouse. Now all that has been removed. There is one guarantee that will cover the goods right from Mombasa to the bonded warehouse or through transit. And then it is going to be a choice. If you want to pay taxes up front, you pay, you get your goods released from Mombasa, the truck is driven straight to your store. That means that you'll be able to have goods available for sale, and that will increase your turnaround time. And in the end, we think that the turnover of a business will increase, and at the end, when the turnover has increased, the costs have been reduced. That ultimately translates into more taxes in terms of the corporation tax.
For the country.
Yes.
Mr. Banage, talk to us about the relationship between this single customs territory mechanism and the one-stop border post mechanism.
Okay. The one-stop border post was an idea still with the same thinking of facilitating trade. But here, whereas you would have Kenya Revenue Authority officers sit at their side and wait for things crossing from Uganda to find them there, you have Uganda Revenue Authority officers sit in Uganda, that is Malaba, and wait for whoever needs them to find them there. Under one-stop border post, we sit together and our systems read together and we sit together just to reduce on those long queues, the delays, and basically facilitate trade. You see, at the border we have so many agencies operating. We have police, we have immigration, we have the revenue authorities, we have UNBS, and so when you're an importer, you have to go through all these agencies, and you can imagine stopping at every little desk. The word one stop, as it actually says this purely in English, is that all these people are in one roof. So you can already see the benefit to the person who is importing. You don't have to go looking in different offices for these people. They are in one tent, they're in one roof, one-stop border post to basically support you and clear your goods as fast as you can. Now, the premises were not there, but the idea is there, and so that's why the premises are being built. It's all in the interest of facilitating trade.
Yes, Mr. Kateshumbwa. So you sit together, you collect all the money, put it in one basket, and later you agree on how to share it. The five governments.
Not really. The model we are using is that taxes are paid to the country where goods are being imported. They're coming together under the one-stop border is for purposes of facilitating trade. And as my colleague mentioned, we have sites being constructed at Malaba, at Busia, in Mutukula. We will soon have Katuna and then Elegu, Nimule, Mirama Hills. All this is meant to make sure that we have much more coordinated border management for purposes of facilitating smooth clearance and flow of goods at the borders. This has been a pain to the business community. You cannot facilitate trade by having multiple agencies at the borders doing literally almost multiple roles and sometimes causing a lot of delays. So the government and the region are determined to make sure that our business community is saved from such costs that come along with delays at the borders. Sometimes if one agency moves fast and creates a lot of simplified processes, but then you have probably another agency creating delays, it does not help the situation. So that's why we are having this coordination to try and make sure that you have one-stop solution, so that you face these people once. And as we move forward, you must have seen in the press that the country is actually looking at even a much more improved system through what we call the single window system that will also be implemented, in which case these agencies will be able to integrate and even have some of the functions linked and multiple functions probably phased out. So all this is meant to make sure that we reduce the cost of doing business and make our country and our region very competitive.
Talk to us, Ms. Kasheka, about this electronic tax. A truck drives from Mombasa to Kigali, if you like, with an electronic tag. How does it work?
Talk of integration. Originally, of course, when we were starting the negotiations of the processes to enable implementation of single customs territory, the Kenya Revenue Authority officials were not allowing the tags, the electronic cargo tracking system for URA to be used while goods are still on the territory of Kenya. But now, last week, part one, we had a meeting, and the Commissioner Customs, Kenya Revenue Authority, accepted that Uganda, URA can now monitor movement of cargo all the way from Mombasa. And this very tower can be also monitored by Rwanda Revenue Authority. So we are working at an integration of our systems, because Kenya Revenue Authority had their own system, Rwanda had theirs, Uganda also we have ours. So we are going to integrate, and we have one system, or having this system read each other. So we have already established a unit here called Central Monitoring Center room, where we have URA officers seated, and they are able to monitor movement of trucks all the way from Mombasa up to the border, after they have crossed even the border, let's say to Rwanda or to DRC or South Sudan.
So you can watch them in your room,
yes,
air conditioned, all the way from Mombasa,
Yes.
until they cross the border. You don't have to refer to the Kenyan authorities.
No, we don't have to. They have allowed us. So we'll have our officers who are seated in Mombasa will now arm or seal this truck from Mombasa, and the officers who are seated in Kampala are able to monitor, view what is taking place as this truck now moves from Mombasa all the way up to the border of Malaba Busia. If it's transiting up to Rwanda, still they will be monitoring.
So you are as an office in Mombasa,
Yes,
with
we are.
staffers who do some of these things.
Yes.
Mr. Kateshumbwa, talk to us about these trucks. So in the past, we had trucks lining up at the border, Busia, Malaba, for many, many days. It's a thing of the past. Is that what you would like to tell us?
Yeah, this is what we have done, and of course, when you improve the systems, it comes along with faster clearances. Like Sarah mentioned, this cargo tracking system, which we are going to launch very soon, which we have been piloting, is able to monitor the movement of goods using satellite technology. Where there is any delay, whether there is any tampering, we'll be able to know, because then we'll have alarms going off, and then we'll be able to intervene. Now, so the trucks which have been cleared, for instance, will not be required to stay at the borders unnecessarily. If they have been cleared, we'll be able to flag them off, and they must move. Edmund, some of the delays at the border happen when we have already cleared the goods. People park and sleep and enjoy the border facilities, but you realize that under the law we have transit time that has been stipulated. Now with this kind of system, we'll be able to monitor and enforce the transit times, so that we will not have unnecessary delays at the borders. But also to mention that the other systems we have upgraded, like Skoda World, which facilitate pre-arrival clearance, doing it online, and then the single customs territory where you can pay before your goods have arrived. All these have been able to help us minimize delays at the borders, and therefore we do not expect delays and lines at the borders going forward.
Ms. Banage, talk to us about which other countries we expect to join this system.
Like I think my colleague Sarah earlier said, initially this was an ESC idea of having one territory, a single territory. This is 5 countries, but 3 out of those countries, meaning Rwanda, Kenya and Tanzania, opted to fast track.
Rwanda,
Kenya
and Uganda. Yes.
Rwanda, Kenya and Uganda opted to fast track this ideal situation of having a single territory. And so last year in June, they actually directed the revenue authorities, fast track this. It has to happen sooner than later. So these 3 chose to do that, and the benefits have started flowing in. What we are realizing this year is that both Burundi and Tanzania have now come on board, which takes us back to the original idea of 5 countries. So they are on board, and so we now have 5 countries in it. But like we've been stating, the benefits are immense, and so do not be surprised if maybe Southern Sudan or someone else wants to join it, because you would like to tap into this single customs territory thing if it is going to improve the way business is done in that region.
So can they come on board before they join the community?
No, they cannot.
They can. The only entryway is joining the community and then they can be, getting into the system eventually. They can't sign on to just this.
In South Sudan, at least for the last 3 summits, South Sudan has been attending
as an observer.
As an observer, and they're interested.
So
in joining.
The answer is you have to join as the community. You can't come selectively.
But I believe for purposes of customs clearance, they can join. They can join
for customs clearance.
Yes,
they can come in.
Yes, if South Sudan, for example, say that would want our customs system to interface with the URIS system, we would allow. So that
with Uganda as a country, not as the ES.
Even the KRA, they are ready to interface. They're ready to interface with them.
They're not legal roadblocks.
Not really. You see, Edmund, the interface between countries that share a common border is very, very important for purposes of controls. For instance, if you have to confirm that goods have exited, if your systems are reading each other, then you are in better position to manage that control. So even without
joining the community,
we have been having established mechanisms through which we cooperate and share information. So
we're going to have one border post between South Sudan and Uganda at Nimule and Elegu.
All right. So talk to us, Mr. Kashua, briefly about this axolotl limit. For some time there was a debate about that. Different standards. Rwanda had a different standard. Kenya had a different standard. We had a difference. How was it resolved? That
issue is being again looked at. It was looked at the summit level, and there is an arrangement that has been put in place to try and make sure that there is one act that brings all of them together. And the main point here was, Edmund, that if you have a way bridge in Mombasa,
yes,
you have another sort of way bridges in Kenya, then you come to Uganda and you have multiple way bridges. Then you cross up to Kigali, you have multiple way bridges.
It's a waste of money.
It's a waste of effort. So the moment we agree that all this increases the cost of doing business, then you have one point where you are able to capture the details, and then you have a system that reads into each other and results are communicated.
And you don't add anything once you leave the port.
Yeah, so at the moment, I think a number of way bridges were removed to make sure that data is captured, and it doesn't have to be captured at multiple points.
Let's hear from the listeners. This is Spectrum Radio. Our number is 0414-348-111, 031-226-0390, 031-226-1390. Spectrum, hello. Hello. Yes, you're live on there. Your name? Okay, when you call in, please tell us your name. Also tell us where you are calling from. The numbers again, 0414-348-111, 031-226-0390, 031-226-1390. Mr. Kateshumbwa, you were talking to us about this single window system. What exactly is it?
There has been efforts by different players in government to try and...
Okay, let's take this call. I was made. Spectrum, hello?
Hello?
Yes, your name?
Omar Ali.
Yes, sir.
I would like the guests to tell us how they have transformed the economies of Uganda to compete in the world economies. In the competing world economies like the US, China, North Korea, Iran, Saudi Arabia, among others.
Oh, that wasn't very clear. If you can call back in, Omar Ali, and clarify it for us. It wasn't very clear. Spectrum, hello? Hello?
Yes, please.
Yes, your name?
James. This is James.
Come on, can you switch off your radio and then talk to us with clarity?
Yes, my name is James.
Yes, James.
Yes, my question is one of the potential impact on the existing ICDs.
Yes.
Yes, like the container depots, multiple, and the rest. What happens to them?
Okay, experts will tell us. Spectrum, hello?
Hello. Yes, Edmund.
Yes, your name?
Good evening. This is Benon.
Yes, Benon.
to tell us how is that system going to benefit the ordinary person?
Come again?
How is that system really going to benefit the ordinary person in Zimbabwe, in Rakai? I mean, how is it going to lower the cost of doing business?
Okay. Inspector Mala, let's get the responses there. Mr. Kateshumbwa.
Yes, the callers have asked two questions, and I'll ask my colleagues to add on. The potential impact on the existing ICDs. What Sarah mentioned earlier on is that you will have to choose. If you want to pay taxes before the goods have left the port, you'll be able to pay. But if you choose to warehouse the goods, then you will bring your goods directly up to the existing warehouses. You have to choose which warehouse you need to. So they will still be in business.
So the internal container depots will still be operational?
Absolutely.
Because some people want to pay cash and take their goods. Some people want to containerize.
Yes, and also remember that some of these internal container depots also facilitate the export of goods. So still they will be in business, and we still have probably a majority of Ugandans who may still want to warehouse and then next warehouse in lots, in small bits. So they'll still be in business.
And you have the administrative structures continue monitoring this?
Absolutely, we are ready.
All right, Mr. Yes, sir.
The second question was an ordinary man, for instance, in Zimbabwe. How does this translate to you, really? And I think what needs to come out clearly is whenever you reduce the cost of importation, and instead of bringing in goods like your trouser, your shirt, your shoes, your handbag, your simple things that we use, anything that we use that is imported really is no longer taking 18 days, but it's coming for 4 days. You have cut so much money for this importer. He's spending a lot less. Now when he spends a lot less, the good in Saudi Yako will be, of course, a lot less. Prices will not be going up because these delays that have been disturbing the Abasubuzi, that kind of people, businessmen, are not there. So they spend less, which translates to less money on the price of a commodity on the shelf. The Zimbabwe man benefits. That's how he benefits.
And the man also to add on the cost of
the question is, why didn't we do this earlier? It sounds also really good.
As they say, there's time for everything. So I probably I wanted to talk more about the reduction of cost of doing business. For example, on documentation, there's going to be 50% reduction. There is mutual recognition of clearing agents, where a clearing agent in Uganda, licensed by URA, is able to conduct business in Kenya. So he will process an entry from Uganda, and KRA accepts this clearing agent to move goods all the way from Kenya to Mombasa to Uganda. Now remember, previously Mr. Kateshumbwa had told you that you would have 3 bonds. There is a bond in Kenya, there is a bond from Malaba to the bonded warehouse, there's another bond now to be executed for warehousing these goods. Now you have one bond that is covering movement of these goods. You are cutting out documents. Remember, now you are going to use one clearing agent, so you don't need to pay a clearing agent from Kenya. You have a Ugandan clearing agent. He will process only one entry, unlike before where you needed 4 entries.
4 clearing agents.
You needed
4 entries and 4
clearing agents. Now you have one clearing agent, you have one entry. So definitely that is a lot of reduction. And so at the end of the day, the cost of the price, the final price of the product will definitely go down. So the common person or the ordinary person in Rakai, in Zimbabwe, definitely will buy goods at a cheaper cost.
Much cheaper cost. Talk to us a little bit more about these clearing agents. You say those licensed in Kampala will be able to transact in Mombasa?
Yes. If a clearing agent is licensed by URA, he can now conduct business in all the 5 partner states. So beginning with Kenya, we've already now trained the Kenyan clearing agents because they can also conduct business in Uganda.
Oh, you had to train the Kenyan clearing agents?
Yes, and also KRA, Kenya Revenue Authority, has trained I had the number. They have trained 109 clearing agents.
Yes.
So they can conduct business in it's called Simba, in the custom system of Kenya Revenue Authority. So that's what we are calling the mutual recognition of the clearing agents.
And Rwanda?
And Rwanda, we are yet to have them trained, but we don't expect much hurdle with Rwanda because the systems are the same. Because Rwanda is using a SCUDA World, and we're also using a SCUDA World. So all they need is to get the password to access the system of Rwanda. Right now, Kenya Revenue Authority is working on giving Ugandan clearing agents passwords. And more to that, we have now interfaced with the Kenya Ports Authority. So we brought the officials from Kenya Ports Authority to come here and train our clearing agents on how to access their system. So you don't need to go to Mombasa to know how much you have to pay for port charges. All you need to do is to key in to the system of KPA, Kenya Ports Authority. They will invoice you. They have now opened branches here in the banks, KCB and I think Equity. So you pay the port charges here. There's confirmation, of course, received by KPA in Mombasa, and they will release your cargo.
That's remarkable.
Yeah,
that's remarkable. Mr. Banage, maybe finally as we go, can you give us your own assessment of this new system? It sounds like something that came from heaven.
Because every system has to benefit the people, really, the people for what we call our clients. So our clients, our taxpayers out there, I mean, should feel comfortable, should embrace this. Sensitization is still going on so that they can understand how we do things, but this is something for them, really. It is something geared towards helping them. Ultimately, the end user, the one who buys the shirt, bag sold and all that, is the one who's benefiting, because these things are going to be much less. But we've also increased our area of influence as Ugandans. Can you imagine? Our children who study clearing agency can now operate as far as Kenya, Burundi, in the 5 countries. Really, as Ugandans, we feel we've benefited even more because our area of influence has suddenly expanded overnight.
Wow. And where can one find more information about this single customs territory?
We put information. We have a number of flyers, but information is on our website, www.ura.org.
Use it every day, so it doesn't. It's like your own phone number. Sometimes
now we also have a toll-free line.
Yes.
We have a toll-free line 0800 11 7000. So you can call or you can check the website.
Toll free 0800 117 000. Well, you have to go. Thank you very much.
In addition to that, Edmund, we have an office, a liaison office in Nakawa, which was set up for single customs territory. So for any support, for any question, for any
support. Yes, Dickson, Mr. Kateshumbwa, very briefly.
Yes, our last word is really to thank our taxpayers and assure them that we continue to work on our systems to make sure that we do everything we can to facilitate trade. But we also request taxpayers to be compliant and work closely with us to make sure that we make our country better.
Paying their taxes, life is made easier a lot by the new changes. We have to go. Thank you very much, indeed, our guest, Ms. Banage, Assistant Commissioner, Public and Corporate Affairs in the Commissioner General's Office at the Uganda Revenue Authority. Thank you for coming tonight. Mr. Dickson Kateshumbwa, Acting Commissioner, Customs at the URA, and Ms. Kasheka, Mwesigye, Assistant Commissioner, Field Services, Customs Department at the URA. Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmund. So Spectrum will be back tomorrow. Up next is the news in English.
Experience the thrill and unforgettable memory of gorilla tracking. Uganda Wildlife Authority is happy to offer you up to 40% discounts on gorilla tracking permits. Offer valid till 31st May. Enjoy the rare wildlife experience of tracking the world's few remaining mountain gorillas in windy impenetrable forest and Gahinga National Parks. You can also enjoy many other activities like nature walks, hiking, birding, golden monkey tracking, culture and community experiences with the Batwa, and a lot more. Don't miss this opportunity.